the first official singles chart of the year saw Bob the Builder sacked from the top spot for sleeping on the job or something, presumably pissing in the sink, and he was replaced by Rui Da Silva and Cassandra. This is Touch Me.
This is such an intro juice, right? This is so juicy. My juicer overfloweth. This is rude. This is so juicy, it's rude.
Well, you say the word rude, and I guess the one thing you want from a song called Touch Me is to feel a bit kind of like you want to feel that it's a sexy thing, it's a sexy enterprise, and this has that in spades. I was clammy. I'm clammy at the thought of it now.
I don't even think it's the lyrics that make it the actual rude.
No,
I think
I know.
it's the elements of the production as well. So this reminds me of going to parties. Like, this really reminds me of big parties. So I would go to some house parties for wider friendship groups. And then I think we've discussed historically my mate Trevor's legendary parties where it all started from him and his sister getting the same hi-fi for Christmas, us sneaking into his house, surprising him. He would come in, the two hi-fis were set up, he had a bunch of CDs and he had to mix and turn the volume down on one hi-fi and get into the next song on the other hi-fi. But yeah, this kind of reminds me of that era and the parties that I would actually go to. This was the first Portuguese number one to ever grace the UK chart. Like, such a big deal track. It's such a significant dance track because it got to number one. Like, seriously, mental.
Yeah, and there's a bit of chart drama we'll get into when we talk about Steps very soon, because there was... Well, some shops put Steps on the shelves too soon.
Oh,
so
yes.
they charted number 72 originally, and Steps fans think that if that hadn't happened, this would have been number 2 and Steps would have been number 1. But that's not what happened, and Rui Da Silva was number 1. It's a very noble, only Portuguese number 1, which is really exciting. Number 1 for 1 week, stayed in the top 10 for 5 weeks, so it hung around. It left a splash. I just think it's summer in January. It's... You know, you look out the window now where we are, and I can see out your conservatory. It's grey, it's gloomy. This just put me at a beach party. They put me at like a sort of full moon beach party. It was very sensual.
It is so strong a track. I smiled the whole way through.
Yeah.
And sometimes whenever I listen to things that bring me to exact memories in the 2000s, it kind of makes me feel a bit sad because I feel a bit old and like, I'm never going to have them house parties again. But in the music video, we've discussed a little pub / nightclub in Limavady where I'm from called the Roebuck. And the Roebuck, when you went in just downstairs, was this really nice, like typically Irish looking pub. There was then at the front like a second door that you could go in right beside the pub, and also a door into that little hallway from the pub. But it was a set of stairs up. And on several occasions, I got like kind of left to go up those stairs by myself because I was intoxicated and I was so drunk that people were like, right, you go first because if you get chucked out, we're still going in and we don't want you to get us all turned. So those steps that she goes up remind me of being in the Roebuck because of the exposed brick and stuff. And then whenever she goes up in the music video, she's at house parties that just remind me of all of the house parties that I've been at. It's just like really happy nostalgia for me with this one.
Yeah. Let's talk about the build of the song. I think the whole build of the production is just the way it's put together is magnificent. I think there's so many surprising turns. You know, it kind of has that flowy Ibiza sound. Then it kind of jumps into this weird kind of guitar riffy bit. And then it just kind of goes totally off beat or off pace altogether. It's a lot of unexpected twists that I never knew what was going to go next. Now I just enjoyed being kind of there for the chase of it.
Yeah, so the minute it starts for me, that like ding 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 is just so processed perfectly, really. Is that the way I can kind of say it?
Yeah.
It was the depth of it. It has so much depth, and I remember at the time that depth being new, and I think, you know, it comes down to mastering and production, and that this was the breakthrough of electronic production at this point. And actually there was some people historically quoted as kind of saying that this was the future. This is exactly the first track you would have expected to be number 1 in 2000 because we thought there was going to be like a technological revolution, but for it to be the first one of 2001, it really just did define the future. But like the depth of it, there's bongos in it. It's just so strong for me. There's a tiny little sample in it as well, depending on what version you listen to, which is actually a sample of Spandau Ballet's Chant Number 1, which is oddly, if you look at it statistically, I think Gary Kemp has actual writing credits on it for that reason. So it's all strange to me, just the fact that it was number 1 to start with and then in the chart for so long. Like, I'm just so glad that everybody just embraced it and went and bought it.
Let's talk about Cassandra. She's the vocalist on this track. She has a kind of husk and rasp of desperation as she sings that you know, that hook line, touch me, and it's got like those similar unusual qualities that Sarah McLachlan has on Delirium Silence. I'm not saying the voices are similar, just that similar kind of unusual tinge about them that makes them stand out from the rest of dance music at that time.
I think the timing of this for that vocalist was great because we were really starting to get into a really kind of euphoric vocal era, and I think that Cassandra was definitely perfect for that. The songwriting's great, she sounds romantic, she's effective, she's kind of breathy, there's a sultry element to it, it's quite minimal as well, but you know, you just don't realise how much of a jam it is and how romantic it is. I just think she's ticked a lot of boxes and done some really good stuff there.